Use permit 16-004 and development review 16-012, a proposal to remodel and add an approximate 5,500 square foot two-story building and approximately 3,100 square feet of covered exterior outdoor space at Huntington Manor Residential Care Facility located at 14755 Budwin Lane within the Rural Residential C Zone. Associate Planner Carol Rosas will present the item along with the PowerPoint. Welcome, Carol.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Subject property is outlined in red here, and the address is 14755 Budwin Lane. And just to orient you, this is an aerial photo of the project area. This is Twin Peaks Road. Midland Road intersects here. This is the former Powell Unified School District offices. Budwin Lane is here. And here, Sierra Bonita Road here. This is Twin Peaks Middle School, the ball fields, and St. Gabriel's Church here. These are single-family homes that surround the property to the north, to the west, and to the east. Some are accessed off of Budwin Lane, and others are off of Huntington Gate. So, this is an aerial photo zoomed in of the project site. The 1.43 acre property is currently developed with an approximate 9,200 square foot residential care facility that's known as Huntington Manor. And that's located here, and it shares a parking lot with Huntington House, which is located here. The access driveway to the site is here. A residential care facility has historically operated on the property for more than 50 years. The facility is a legal non-conforming use, meaning that while the use could not be established in the rural residential C zone now, it was legally established prior to the city incorporation and in accordance with San Diego County land use standards at the time. It is licensed to have up to 21 elderly residents. Per the County Municipal Code, a legal non-conforming use or pre-existing conditional use is permitted to continue to operate as long as it's in compliance with the requirements. The residential care facility actually predates the development of majority of the surrounding homes and development. This is the project site plan, and this is showing the existing residential care facility building here. The project proposes the construction of an approximate 5,500 square foot two-story building in this area here, and 3,100 square feet of covered outdoor space consisting of balconies, veranda space, and atrium area. The project will result in 8 of the 21 resident bedrooms located in the main building being converted and remodeled into a new large communal day room for the residents, as well as additional office and storage space. So the remodel is occurring in this area here with a dash line around it. The 8 displaced resident bedrooms will be replaced with larger bedrooms with attached private rooms on the second floor of the new building. A large multi-purpose activity room is proposed for resident use and staff training on the lower level. The project also proposes the construction of approximately 1,500 square feet of new deck area, which is shown on the site plan with a diagonal pattern, and an upgrade to the existing sewer system. This aerial photo shows an outline of the proposed building footprint outlined in the orange dash line, and is located immediately west of the existing residential care facility building. In 2015, the owner of a residential property near Huntington Manor filed a lawsuit against the city concerning sewer odor near their home. Huntington Manor was also included in the suit. In 2016, a settlement was reached concerning the case. As part of the settlement, the city paid the plaintiff $20,000 and committed to sealing and keeping sealed 3 sewer manholes located near the plaintiff's home. Huntington Manor agreed to install a special odor control system as part of their private on-site sewer lift stations. Additionally, Huntington Manor agreed to continue using a freshwater flushing injection system in the private on-site sewer lift station as a means to control odor. Huntington Manor anticipates the existing private sewer pump station at the facility may not be able to accommodate the new sewer line from the new building, and that the building will be developed at a lower elevation. tank is proposed, therefore, at a depth of 3 to 4 feet deeper than the existing tank. Along with the new tank, there will be new pumps with increased horsepower, which will pump at a higher gallon per minute rate with increased velocity, moving the water and material through the sewer discharge line. This is a building elevation showing the south elevation of the new proposed two-story building, and it shows the balcony area here that would be serving two private relocated bedrooms, as well as the veranda area. You see here where the raised deck area connecting the new buildings to the existing residential care facility. A neighborhood meeting was held for the project in April this year. A 500-foot notice was sent to property owners and occupants within 500 feet of the project site. 15 people attended the meeting, of which 3 were nearby residential property owners, and others were people having a connection to Huntington Manor, like a relative or of a resident. Discussion raised by area property owners centered on 2 key concerns. 1, the expansion of a commercial operation within a residential neighborhood and how it could affect their property values. The second issue was the proposed sewer upgrade and whether the city is making sure Huntington Manor adheres to the requirements of the settlement agreement concerning the sewer odor. In response to the first issue, it was explained that while the built environment of Huntington Manor will increase, the number of elderly residents licensed for the facility and the number of staff will not increase. So the actual operation will not expand. The project will result in the replacement of 8 existing small bedrooms with larger bedroom-bathroom suites in the proposed new building. Additionally, the residential care facility is a legal non-conforming use, so city code allows for the use to continue to operate in conformance with city requirements. It was also conveyed that the new building has been designed to complement and be compatible with the existing building. Therefore, the aesthetics and design of the project should not have an adverse impact on land values in the area. The proposed sewer upgrades were explained in detail. A representative from Huntington Manor's sewer pump consulting company confirmed that the sewer pump system is operating properly. The point was made that because the project would not result in an increase in the number of residents or employees, it is anticipated that there would not be an increase in sewer discharge from the facility. These are building elevations showing, again, the south elevation and showing the raised deck connecting to the existing building. This is the west elevation of the new building and the northerly building elevation. The project has been designed to comply with all development standards. The new building will be compatible in architectural style and exterior building materials and colors to match the existing facility building. Notice was published in the newspaper, as well as sent to property owners within 500 feet, as well as occupants within 500 feet. Over 10 letters of support were received for the project and were distributed as an additional materials information. Staff is recommending approval of the project subject to the conditions in the proposed resolution. This marks the end of the presentation. I am available for questions. Thank you.
I do have a number of speakers on this item. First up, Philip Butson, I believe it is. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. I would ask you if you can keep it shorter than that because we do have quite a number of speakers.
Thank you, council members. Philip Whitson, my wife at 14755 Budwin Lane here in Poway, California. My wife and I have owned this project for the last 20 years, and I've been slowly over the years in cooperation with the city staff and the city council, slowly replacing these older bedrooms which dated back to 1950. And this is the last set of bedrooms that we will be replacing. We're not asking for more, we're only asking to make it better for the frail elderly and the people on hospice that we take care of. Of the 21 beds, I could have as many as 16 on hospice, and we can have 13 that are bedbound, all consistent with the existing regulations. These people require special equipment. Hospital beds, lift chairs, over tables, oxygen equipment, wheelchairs, lots of equipment, and the existing bedrooms, which average under 100 square feet each, are going to be replaced by bedrooms over 300 square feet so we can give proper care to this very important group of people who are living on the site right now. Rather than go into any further discussion, because I thought Carol did an excellent job, I am available to answer any questions. Our architect, Lori Fisher, is available to answer questions. I also have Bill Yen here, our civil engineer, and Jeff McNamara from McNamara Pump, which is in charge of and has been monitoring all of the discharges from our sewer lift stations for the last several years, is available also. In addition, Dr. Alberto Aldrete is here, and he is a doctor, lives here in Poway, and he heads 2 clinics down in the city, which takes care of hundreds of people, and he is very familiar with space requirements and equipment requirements that are needed to properly care for this population. And he is available to answer questions also. In addition, we are joined tonight by many people who are connected with it. These include children and grandchildren of the people that live in the facility right now or have lived it in the past or are familiar with our program. And I would ask all of them to stand right now, those in support of our program, are here to show to the council that we have a commitment from the community to support the program and to support the plans that we have. With that, I will make myself and my experts available for any questions that the council members may have. I just want to make one other point. We've been planning on this project for almost 2 years, and I want to thank Carol for helping us put in a really outstanding plan. My original ideas, she questioned and challenged us and asked us to do better, and we have come up with, through Lori, our architect, have come up with a really outstanding plan. In my opinion, we will have, after this is done, one of the very finest assisted care facilities for the frail elderly and the people on hospice in this entire region. And we would urge you to support the application and vote in favor of it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Stonecipher Cote. After Karen, we'll have Tom Brenneman Jr.
To comment on the quality of care at Huntington Manor, I am not, my father does not live there, we are considering it. I have visited 10, 15 more facilities throughout San Diego. My father wrote a book back in the 70s. He's one of the leading gerontologists out there. I grew up being schooled by him. Huntington Manor is unique, and I will say this because when I drove up, I was pulled over by somebody who I thought worked there, but it turned out she did not. She was a visitor from hospice, and she pulled me aside and said, "This place is good, it's different." She said, "The residents here are healthy. And if you listen to the news, it's loaded with casts on problems that are fraught with elder care problems." But she said this place is growing its own food, it's serving its residents with fresh food, and when she visits the glitzy places that are throughout San Diego, she said those people are not healthy. They all have stomach problems and digestive problems. So I really would like to recommend this place and say that it needs to be supported by the city.
Thank you, ma'am. Tom Brenneman Jr. Next up after Tom will be Leanne Carmichael.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Brenneman Jr. I've lived in Poway for about 15 years. I'm a 20-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and I'm proud to be part of the city. I've known Mr. Budson for approximately 6 years. I know him to be a very honest man, one of high integrity. I also know that he makes excellent desserts. I encourage you to approve this measure for 3 reasons. One, because it's part of the Poway history and heritage for about 50 years. And we've had a tradition of supporting those buildings and institutions that are part of our great city. Number 2, we also support established Poway businesses. And there's a great movement, especially around the holidays, to do that. This business has been in place for about 50 years. Number 3, for the good of the community and our residents, and the residents of Huntington Manor, to improve an already high-quality, low-profile business, providing the most important service to our seniors who are most deserving of our efforts to honor their lives. When you look at the goods versus the bads in this proposal, the goods far outweigh the bads. I would submit that these improvements will create a nice, quiet, professional place that, frankly, I would want my elderly family members to reside at. Thank you.
Thank you. Leanne Carmichael.
Good evening, Mayor Voss, members of the council. My name is Leanne Carmichael, and I'm one of the neighbors just a couple houses over from the facility there. And I want to make it clear that I am here to support the facility and the expansion that they're requesting in the staff report. They are good neighbors. They keep their grounds up. They have happy residents. We say hello as we go by, walking our dog. They've been good neighbors for several years that we've lived there. The two issues that I would like to talk about, which I've already talked to Mr. Bunsen about, are the facility is on a private road. Budwin ends the public maintenance a little bit before it gets here. So on page 14 of the staff report, I would respectfully like you to consider adding on number I-6, where it says that the public improvements, the applicant shall repair to the satisfaction of the city engineer any and all damage to public improvements. I would like you to also consider public and private improvements, because that is a private road along there. So if during construction, I'm sure Mr. Bunsen would already repair any damage that would happen. But if that could be added to the condition, I think you'd be amenable to that. The other condition I would like to request be added, and I've also talked to Mr. Bunsen about this, is that as a condition of the permit, prior to occupancy, so after it is already constructed, that a private road maintenance agreement be formed with the neighbors. It's probably something that should have been done at the very initial onset, and as those houses developed in the area, it probably should have already been put in place so that we can continue to maintain the road. It's deteriorating, it's getting older. We've filled a couple potholes here and there when they come up, but that's just my main concern. But I would support the project. They're very good neighbors, and we appreciate them being there. Thank you.
Alberto Aldretti.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dr. Alberto Aldretti, a resident here at Poway. I'm a director of multiple medical clinics here in town. I have been involved with the design and the build of several clinics, and currently run 2 facilities with a total of 44 exam rooms in multiple departments under my supervision. We currently serve, I think I hit something, sorry. We currently serve over 60,000 patients annually, and I am intimately aware of the needs of patients and of the medical equipment requirements for physical conditions and disabilities. Patients in end-of-life care require such equipment as large mobile hospital beds, wheelchairs, walkers, overtables, oxygen equipment, electric lifts, and much, much more. The space requirement for this equipment is tremendous. An average exam room is 70 square feet, and a trauma room with nothing more than a crash cart requires 120 square feet. The existing 8 bedrooms in question in Huntington Manor are about 30% smaller than an average outpatient ambulatory trauma room. The rooms at Huntington Manor are not for outpatient services, however, but rather they're living quarters for our residents and all of their belongings. The current space is not sufficient for them, and much less for their medical equipment needs. I have seen firsthand that the space is not enough for the staff to maneuver around and care for these frail residents, and even for the family members to visit their loved ones on a daily basis. It is a medical necessity that the rooms be larger to properly help the residents and those needing hospice care. The replacement bedrooms will more than triple the size of the existing rooms, ample space to meet the needs of this group of residents. In my opinion, the approval of the replacement bedrooms is a reasonable accommodation for these residents in Huntington Manor, and I am personally excited to see this change and the quality of life that it will bring to these residents. I urge the council to approve this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sean McCormick.
Good evening and happy Wednesday, council members. I have had the privilege to work with Philip over multiple years as his vendor for durable medical equipment. I have had the privilege and the opportunity to bless lives and provide them with mobility from custom power wheelchairs to manual wheelchairs so these residents can have a quality of life that we take for granted with our 2 feet. Additionally, I have provided assistance with hospital beds and various other durable medical equipment, which Philip has always done a great job of providing nothing but great equipment and taking the utmost care and respect with him. His staff of Tess and Honey in the audience have always been present and treat each client like they would their own. I highly recommend that we, as a city, come together and unify behind Philip to support our loved ones aging with dignity, grace, and respect, something that some of these skilled nursing facilities lack. And Mr. Bilson here is a true example of how we should treat our elderly aging in place by giving them the quality of life they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I've got a few speaker slips here that you did not indicate whether or not you wish to speak. So, Lindgren. Go ahead, sir.
Blizzard, my mom has been at Huntington for 3 years. I'm a San Diego City paramedic, or was for 35 years. About the last 15, I was up here in northern San Diego County, and I've run many calls into city of Poway, and a lot of the facilities. And the facility at Huntington is just absolutely, hands down, better than anything else that I've been in. I've been in a lot of them. I was, like I said, 35 years as a paramedic. And I just think you should support him. It's, you should support him. And as the population ages, this is going to be a coming crisis. I was first of the baby boomers, and so when I went to get kindergarten, I was first 2 or 3 years I was on half days. I sure hate that to happen to myself and others as a baby boomer's age. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Keller. Okay, thank you. Rio Moraleja. No need to speak? Okay, thanks. Amy Bootson. Thank you. Donna Tellis. Thank you. Patrick O'Brien. Come on down, Patrick.
Hello everybody, my name is Patrick O'Brien. I'm a registered nurse with hospice. I have had the pleasure of taking care of patients at Huntington Manor and all through San Diego County actually. The service that Philip provides to the residents of Poway is something that's really important. We take care of patients who are in skilled nursing facilities, which I'm sure we've all had a friend or a family member who may have been in a skilled nursing facility. The quality of life there is much different than the quality of life at Huntington Manor. As a traveling nurse throughout the county of San Diego, I've seen neighborhoods. Obviously, Poway is a beautiful neighborhood, and if you've lived in Poway your whole life and you need a higher level of care and you want to be in a home-like environment, Huntington Manor is really a wonderful place to be. And Philip's absolutely right. The rooms there are way too small to provide care for the residents that need it. So the expansion of the facility to include larger rooms would really benefit Huntington Manor and the residents of Poway. So I urge you guys to help Philip make this happen. Thank you guys.
Thank you. I want to say a special thank you to the 34 of you who filled out speaker slips and said you did not wish to speak. All 34 were unanimous in support of the project. Council discussion. Jim, let's start with you.
Thank you. Well, it appears to me that the concept of this particular project is to increase or improve the quality of life of the folks that find themselves or their situation necessary to be in an assisted living facility. It does not increase the density at all, which I appreciate. And I think most importantly, and I've been lucky enough to be on council for 10 years, and I've seen Philip appear in front of us twice, both times trying to improve the quality of life of his residents. It is an honorable place. And I remember on a prior occasion, and it struck me that one of the residents talked about looking out on the ball fields and the kids playing, my kids were playing out there. And it struck me that that place at that time, and with you at the helm, is a perfect place in a very difficult time of life for folks that find it necessary to be in an assisted living place. The notion that you strive to provide a better quality of life is fully supported by me. Thank you to everybody who came here today. It is very telling that it's just not a business, it's a home, and you try to make it a home for people. And I appreciate that, and I fully support your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Dave?
I have experience, or first-hand experience. I know what good assisted living facilities are, and I also know what bad ones are. And so it certainly sounds like this is definitely on the good side, and it's really nice to hear everybody speak highly of you and your organization. Just a few comments. Right now you have 21, and you can't go higher than that. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So no more patients. So I assume that means no more workers and no more cars. So I don't know. It's hard to see what's bad about this. I have one comment, and it was good to see Leanne get up, who was a neighbor who spoke very highly of you, and that's something I always look forward to. But on the conditions, is that something that maybe Carol or Bob can talk about, that she was asking about?
Typically, on private street maintenance agreements, when one does not exist and a property is taken access from it, the condition we typically use is that the property owner would not oppose the formation and the participation in one if one is created, because that's usually that's a private issue, and we normally don't require it to actually be created by the actions of one property. And Morgan may want to chime in on that as well.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I would probably suggest if you're going to add that it be the requirement to consent and to join in that agreement be limited to an agreement that doesn't create excessive burden on the applicant. In other words, it should be their prorated share of the responsibility as opposed to simply making it all their responsibility.
And how many neighbors are we talking about that use that private road? Is it?
Councilmember, it depends on where you're looking. On Budwin Lane, I think that there are all the way back on Indian Peak and on that, there must be 40 different houses back there that use that private road. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I tried to get the neighbors together. There is no private road, and it's all on septics. Most of those homes are on septics, and I know at least 4 that have failed. A few years ago, you put in a 6-inch water line because we desperately needed it. Thank you. But eventually, we're going to have to address it. But it's a question of getting all the neighbors together. I mean, I would certainly agree that if a road maintenance district or a sewer improvement district were created, I'd be the first one to sign. But whether or not that can actually happen is difficult given the fact that there's, like I said, 40 different property owners. It's not just Budwin Lane, there's Indian Peak, and I'm forgetting the name of the other street that's back there. but it's just a very long, half-mile-long, dead-end street, private road, built before the 50s.
It's hard to get five to agree to anything, much less 41.
Does that answer your question,
Yeah.
Councilmember?
Well, I fully support this, and I think I look forward to having an improved and bigger facility, and who are talking to your friends and co-workers, you have a lot of good friends. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. John?
Well, on that point, a couple of things. I've known Philip for longer than I care to remember, and Alfred can speak to the testament about his character and integrity. And to that point, with regard to the suggestion of additional conditions, the reality is that if there ever was a road maintenance agreement presented, Huntington Manor shared relatively small since you're very early on the road. The people at the end of the road would pay more than people at the beginning. And I could look at Philip and I saw him shake his head that if he did damage to the private road as well as the public, that he will repair it. I'm satisfied that that addresses the only issue that came up with the project. I commend you, Philip, and your team for being willing to make this kind of an investment and this kind of improvement without asking for an increase in the number of residents or anything else that would impact the use of the property. So I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, John. Barry?
Thank you for coming, and thank you everybody else for coming as well. It's a real testament to your character that these folks show up and say the things they do about you. And you're in a business that's tough. You provide excellent care for frail and elderly people in very cramped space. And yet, you get it done somehow, and people applaud you for that. So a couple of comments. I did go up and view the facility. I never knew it was there. It is beautiful. It's so peaceful. I can see why people feel comfortable there. And I applaud you for that. I also would say we may have other properties that you could take and do the same thing too, because we're all, last I checked, there's a lot of elderly people up here. It'd be nice if we could be nice to you maybe. But there was a couple of things said. Tom Brenneman said it's high quality and low profile. And that's great. That's some type of magic. And your employees enjoy working there. The testimonies from the families, we've all been there. We know what it's like. And to have an exceptional place, and you've done it for 20 years, we applaud you for that. Thank you. I'm fully in support.
Thanks, Barry. First time I saw your little piece of heaven there was going by on horseback. Wonderful little trail goes right through there. And I thought to myself at the time, if I ever get old, that's where I want to be. I think it's a beautiful, peaceful spot, and appreciate all you do for all the people. You're definitely blessing a lot of people there. With that, I would be happy to move approval, and I'm looking for a second from Deputy Mayor Leonard. So we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing and adopt a resolution approving minor conditional use permit 16-004 and development review 16-012. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion. The record will reflect the motion passed unanimously. Thank you all for coming out.